best dressed man in wrestling right here. Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream. It ain't no doubt. It ain't no doubt. Flair, bring that old cashmere coat out here.
Can't help it that I'm custom made. I can't help it that I look good, smell good, can dance all night long.
First of all, you're gonna talk about the Senior Bowl today, but I gotta say R.I.P. to Carl Weathers, aka Action Jackson. Was my childhood hero. Man, it's crazy to see Apollo Creed dead. You know what I mean? That it's crazy to think about this, man.
So much for Carl Weathers, Apollo Creed, Predator. The guy's been in everything. So, but hey,
goes another one bite the dust. That's the old saying. Queen was right. Queen was right on that one. But man, let's get into the Senior Bowl, man. I just want to know, man, what's your thoughts about my boy Joe Milton? We all know he got some bazooka. We all know he got one of them big arms. What's your thoughts about him? And just give me your overall about this quarterback class this year.
This quarterback class is a mess.
Okay.
Everybody's talking about how quarterbacks could go 1, 2, and 3 in the draft, and I'm telling you right now, none of these. There's not a quarterback in this class that's worth a first round. They're not even worth a first round. I mean, you look at the best guys in this draft, and the top 3 quarterbacks are Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, and probably Michael Penix. None of those guys are to me. None of those guys are franchise. Each one of them is flawed in a certain way. So there's no guy you're going to take that's going to go, oh, this guy's the magic touch. Each guy has a huge flaw. And you brought up Joe Milton. Joe Milton, yeah, he could throw the ball, but you have no idea where the hell it's going. Once it leaves his hand, and you saw it in the Senior Bowl. I mean, it's hard to judge a quarterback based on the Senior Bowl because these guys they just got there. They haven't played together. They haven't done any. It's not like they've been working. The thing about the Senior Bowl, and this goes for every single thing you do in pre-draft. I have to caution everybody who watches these things and breaks this stuff down. What these things are for is you make your opinion based on what you've seen from the guys already. And then when you see them at the Senior Bowl, when you see them at one of these all-star games, when you see them at the combine, when you see a workout, you look for what it is you already thought about them. So if you went into this thinking, all right, Joe Milton has a strong arm, but he's inaccurate, you look at it and you go, all right, you evaluate what you just saw. If he shows his strong arm, you go, all right, check that box. He does have a strong arm. He does have this. If all of a sudden he's accurate and pinpoint, then you got to go back and look at the film and say, well, why wasn't he like that during the season? What changed, or what was the difference? The same thing could be said about Bo Nix, where everybody's been hyping Bo Nix for the entire college football season.
But is he not supposed to look good with 8 years of playing college football?
Exactly. Bo Nix. But that's the thing. Everybody, I was reading up on a lot of the stuff and watching him. He's been inconsistent his entire career. All of a sudden, he comes out and has a great year at Oregon, and everybody says, "Oh, look, he can do that in the NFL." you look at why he had the highest completion percentage ever. All his passes were between 5 and 7 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the NFL, you're not going to do that. The NFL, an NFL defensive coordinator is not going to let you dink and dunk the ball. He's going to make you if they see that he's a dink and dunk passer. Well, we're going to take that away and make him throw the wide side of the field. Make him throw it across the field and see if the accuracy's still there, see if everything is still there. And you look at what Bo Nix did during the Senior Bowl, and again, the game is almost irrelevant to this. The game kind of is just the checkpoint. But if you watched him during practice, he was awful. He was awful during the practices, and that's when you're supposed to look good. You're supposed to look good. You're supposed to look great during practice, and he looked awful. That's when you got to go back and go, all right, why did he have such a good season? Oh, it's because of this. Can we and when you do that, when you look back at it, you look at it and go, can we do that with our team? And if you can mimic that, then you draft the guy. If his style isn't going to work for your team, then you can't go out. Then you can't go out and draft. You can't draft a guy just based on, all right, he's a big name. It has to be a guy that fits your program.
I have a question then, man. I know people want to say the C.J. Stroud effect of last year, him having an amazing year, and I'll be the first one. I didn't have no faith in C.J. Stroud being having that good of a year that he had, right? Because he didn't show much in the biggest games at Ohio State. We watched the game last year, and me and you was talking about that Northwestern game, and you know what I mean, and getting outplayed. So you don't think it's a hidden gem at the quarterback position at all this year that can bust on the scene?
I think if there are hidden gems, they're not in the first round. They're not in the top of this draft. And that's one of the things that I've been looking at as far as this year. And you're gonna see it because this is why I took the year off. This is why I took a year off. I couldn't stand these people. I can't stand these people breaking down. Just look at the year. Just look at the year we had in college football. You had one player. There's only one guy who physically stood in the end zone in every single game he played in. And that guy wasn't even invited to New York for the Heisman because they said, oh, it has to go to a quarterback. They're going to hype these quarterbacks up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not college football. College football is about the best players in college football. I mean, I'm talking about, Blake Corum had one of the best years in college football of all time. And if we're talking 10, 15, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago at this point, the New Orleans Saints would be trading their entire draft to get him.
Mm-hmm.
Like they did for Ricky Williams, okay? That's the kind of year Blake Corum had, and didn't even get invited to New York. Didn't even get invited.
But I have a question for you then, man.
So they're going to up these quarterbacks. The point is the quarterback play is so overrated. It's absolutely hilarious.
Do you think the big house himself? Do you think the JJ legend is going to go to the Chargers, man, and sit behind Herbert, man? I can see that in my twisted mind. I can see something like that.
Well, he's still got a year to go.
No, I thought he's not coming out. I thought he was coming out.
From what I know, he's still got a year. I'm pretty sure he was a sophomore this year.
Oh, was he? My fault.
I'm pretty sure he's not. I'm pretty sure he's not eligible.
Oh, okay.
Because if he were eligible, he'd be he'd be up there. But again, he's got a lot to work. He's got a lot of work to do.
I did see that couple error throws he made in that national championship, which was a dominant national championship.
I mean, you look at that Michigan. That Michigan team was loaded, and you saw in the Senior Bowl. You saw Roman Wilson was the best wide receiver at the Senior Bowl, and he wasn't even there. He's like their third receiver. He was like their third receiver.
I like that. I like that one receiver. Let me go pick my dog. Let you keep on running.
Which one? At Michigan, Cornelius Johnson is outstanding, and the guy's like 6'4". Like that's the guy. That's the wide receiver to be looking at. But
I like Brandon Rice. What are your thoughts about Brandon Rice, man?
Oh, Brandon Rice. Oh yeah, where you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong with Jerry's kid. I mean, Jerry's kid playing wide receiver. You can't go wrong with it. And you look at that. That's the other thing. Like Caleb Williams, yeah, he won a Heisman. Yeah, he's done all this stuff. But go back and look at what he's done. Go look at Lincoln Riley. Go look at Lincoln Riley disciples in the NFL. And you can go all the way back to Landry Jones. None of these guys have produced anything at the NFL level.
They're gonna say Baker.
What about Baker?
Baker got hot again. You know, they're gonna throw them names. You got a all-time Heisman winning, quarterback.
There are a whole lot of. I mean, somebody was. That was the all Lincoln Riley. Somebody was going to win that game. It was either Baker Mayfield or Jalen Hurts, but still, none of those guys have gotten to the upper echelon of where you want. And if you're taking a guy number one, number two, that's what you want, a guy who's going to lead your team to the promised land.
What about
none of those guys have done it?
What about Neighbors? You're high on Neighbors out of LSU?
The name doesn't ring a bell.
He played for LSU last year. Neighbors, or what's the other one from Texas? Pretty decent too. The wide receiver from Texas.
Oh, yeah, I like the wide receiver from Texas. And I just had him up. I here. I was just looking at him. Like I said, at the Senior Bowl, that's the one thing that these things can do is you watch guys and you go, all right, this guy this guy's this good, this guy's this good, and then I'm just looking. The thing about the Senior Bowl, we're going to talk